Assalamu alaikum. I'm Susan Labadi, and I'm your host for today. This morning, we're going to look at professional development and teacher appraisal process with Sister Uzma Khan. Sister Uzma is a Texas certified principal. She received her master's in educational administration and leadership from Southern Methodist University, Texas, and a master's in English literature from Pakistan. She is a certified appraiser for Texas Teachers Evaluation and Support System and Texas Principal Evaluation and Support System. Additionally, she is a specialist in restorative practices. She has over 22 years experience in the educational industry and has served as principal in California before moving to Texas. She served for 11 years as principal of Good Tree Academy in Plano, Texas. She has worked with private schools in Pakistan, California, and Texas. She is also a consultant and has worked with schools in Texas and California. Sister Uzma has served on several accreditation committees for advanced ed. With Sister Uzma as principal, GTA grew from elementary to high school and received accreditation and reaccreditation. Sister Uzma believes that Islamic school students should never have to compromise on quality education and proudly practice their religious beliefs. I present to you Sister Uzma Khan. Good morning and welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Jazakallah khair for joining us here today. I can see that we have two people, Sister Aisha Jalani and Sister Rana. Maybe we can take a few minutes as we wait for others to join to introduce ourselves.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Rana Al-Mamlouk. I'm the principal at Houston Peace Academy in Spring, Texas. And I've been in the education since 1986.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
So, alhamdulillah, I love children and I love my job. And really, the children are the one I love the most. It's hard to deal with adults nowadays, so whether parents or teachers. But the best part of it is really seeing the children, alhamdulillah.
Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. And you joining us here on this Saturday morning is a proof of that. Jazakallah
Yes.
khair for joining.
Wa iyaakum, sister.
All right. I can see that we have two other people.
Sister Nagin or Sister Aisha, care to introduce yourselves?
Hi, sorry I'm late. How are you all?
We are good. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us. We were
Thank you
just going through some introductions. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Great, yes, sure. My name is Nagin Gossity. I am assistant principal at the Huda Academy. I'm also 4th and 5th grade ELA teacher. This is my 8th year teaching and my first year as assistant principal. And last year I was team lead. So lots of learning going on for me this year.
Lots of hats going on.
We've all been
Yes.
there. It's a good position to be in. You will find out what you're made of.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. Oh boy.
Inshallah. Sister Aisha.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I'm Aisha Jalani. I'm acting principal for Medina Academy in Bellevue, Washington. I've been sort of always been in an administrative teacher position. This year, our school is going to go through the CISNA accreditation. It's been a year of tremendous growth. I've worked really hard to change the culture of the school, and it's just really empowering. We are very women driven. Our staff is mostly women, and so alhamdulillah, it's been a good growing process for me, and these sessions have been really good, for administrators, because usually, we're always thinking about our staff and our students and our parents, and we too need to feel good about what we're doing. We too need to be appreciated and kind of also what this gives me is sort of an affirmation that we're going in the right direction. And so it's really empowering. So these Saturday mornings are worth every minute of it. And Jazakallah khairan for doing this.
That's beautiful.
Mashallah,
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank
We
you so
have
much for
s-
joining us.
We have Sister Farah who has joined us. This is her first session that she has joined us with. So Sister Farah, would you please give an introduction to yourself for our group?
Hey, assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Farana. Sorry, I'm in the kitchen giving breakfast to my son as I'm talking to you guys. So inshallah,
That's real life.
there you go.
See, that's also one of the hats we wear, right?
Feeding the son, feeding the cat.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so
So,
much for
yeah.
joining us this Saturday morning, Sister Farah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for having me. And I know I'm a little late in registering. Alhamdulillah, the school keeps us busy, as we all know, and we are grateful for the opportunity. Again, I'm excited to be a part of the cohort, here to learn and grow under Dr. Uzma and anybody, all the other trainers, inshallah ta'ala. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, everyone, for introducing. I see that we have an amazing, MashaAllah, wonderful group amongst all of us sitting here. I think we have more than 100 years of experience combined. So we are together here so we can learn from each other's experience. So I would like to share some experiences with you today regarding professional development and teacher appraisal process. So let's start right away. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Bismillah. As most of you were talking about, first and foremost, I would like to say Jazakallah khair for being a principal, for being an assistant principal, a lead teacher during the pandemic. Hats off to all of you. It has not been easy. And you know, what Sister Aisha said, that is something that I have been thinking about, that it's not easy being a teacher, especially during the pandemic, because we had to change our lifestyle overnight. We had to go digital. Teachers who were scared of technology, they had to teach through technology. And we appreciate our teachers, we love our teachers, and we want to support our teachers. But maybe sometimes we forget that the principals who are working so hard, the assistant principals, we forget to thank them. We forget to appreciate them. And as an Islamic school principal, we used to feel lonely. Even when I would attend those workshops where there would be all the different ISDs, and they would talk about the resources that they have, the teams that they have. Even when they come for trainings, you could see every ISD would bring like 6 people. And then there's one Islamic school principal who's sitting all by herself at a table, no one around them. And then they would talk about what would they do if they had this issue. They would call this person, they would have that support. And I would think, maybe I'll just call the chairman of the board. Hey, how can you help me with that, right? So I would like to thank CISNA for this amazing cohort, this Leadership Institute, because I think this is excellent for us to get together and speak about the needs that are specific to our campuses, specific to what we go through. I think that's a great opportunity. So when I talk about professional development and teacher appraisal and share my experiences, I am very confident that most of you would be able to resonate with it, because I think most of us have gone through the same. So when we talk about professional development, when we talk about professional development or teacher appraisal, what words come to our mind? We think about teacher growth. We think about student growth. We think about vertical alignment. We think about needs. We think about walkthroughs, SMART goals, peer mentoring, lesson plans. All of these words come to our mind, and they can be overwhelming. However, as educators and as leaders, we know that they are the backbone of a strong school. You have to, if a school is not growing, and the school will only grow when the leadership grows, when the teachers grow, and because they will be able to transfer that knowledge to their students. And when students perform well and they are happy and they are engaged, that is the growth of the school. And we also grow. We grow from being teachers to assistant principals to principals. We would not be able to do that if not for the professional development opportunities provided to us, the leadership opportunities provided to us. But how can we find out if the professional development that we have been receiving is helping us? That's where the teacher appraisal process comes in, and it just binds the two together. If you have a need-based assessment, then you provide the professional development, and then you appraise and you assess. You can see that who is growing in your team and who is ready to move on to the next level. And the thought of growth is very important. I would focus on it a lot because that has really supported the growth of everyone on my team for years. When we talk about these things, we also talk about a culture of accountability. When we don't have a plan, that means we are planning to fail. So having a professional development plan is integral. Setting clear expectations from the very beginning about professional development, about teacher appraisal, putting them in the contract from the very beginning is very important. And for me, it has been a key thing. It has been a key thing that, yes, we are going to grow together. You know, I always surround myself with people who are willing to grow. And when they know that they will be able to grow, you get their buy-in. You get more of that passion, the fire coming from majority of the team. And technology. We all agree that schools are not going to go back to the way they were. No matter how much we can think about it, I don't think that the change that pandemic has brought to schools is ever going to go back. Either it will be blended, or even if it's on campus, the technology element will stay. And as leaders, I have done it, and I'm sure you are doing it, that we should use technology to our advantage. And it has really supported. Just like, let's say, CISNA was doing this professional development every month. No one would be able to fly every month to a different place to attend a professional development session. But when we can log in from our kitchen and we can meet other educators and hear from others, we can really benefit. You know, that's a motivation. So I feel we should use that in our daily school culture as well.
Sister Uzma?
Yes.
Have you or anybody else in our group here had the experience where you've had a teacher who is very seasoned, who, when you've come to suggest that they go for some professional development in the coming year, have an attitude? They say, I don't need any professional development. I know everything.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard this and my mouth has dropped, because one of the best things I've ever had was my school investing in me for professional development. And I loved it. When I learned something, I'm so very happy. But sometimes you do find these resistant teachers. Have you had that experience?
I've had those experiences. I think for the last 5-6 years, you can say they became more prevalent, because especially like you said, when you've had teachers who've been with you or who have the experience, they feel they know it all. They don't feel that, they don't agree that certain things need a refresher course. And as we talk about we will talk about the appraiser, we will find out that for an appraisal, you always have to have a refresher course. So what I've done with teachers who were resistant like that, I would sometimes give them certain leadership roles. That, hey, you think you know everything about, let's say we were talking about curriculum maps. You've done it, you know it, you don't need to go into it. Then how about you come and help train others? So they would come on board, and then we would be, instead of just one person training, I can have 3 people. So teachers can be divided into small groups, and I've used those teachers. And then they realize that, okay, it's not so bad, because, you know, some teachers are like those bright students in your classroom. They know the answer right away. Now they don't want to sit for 40 minutes and listen to everyone talking. They just want to get on and do something. And I had one teacher, bless his soul, sitting in professional development, 30 minutes into the session, walks up to me and whispers, do you think, I know all of this. Do you think I can just go to my office and do my lesson plans? I'm really behind on my lesson plans. So it's like in 5 seconds, he told me the professional development that was being offered is absolutely useless to him because he knows it all. And we know that they don't know it all, But so those resistance, I have worked with it like that I have tried to bring them on. And I have told them that, okay, how about you help me? And then they have come back and they have learned a lot and they have realized how important it is, because when they get a slight leadership role, they realize that they might be the only one. And when they work with others, they realize that others know a lot more than them sometimes. So if they are thinking in their own little circle that I know it, I don't need to attend it, I think sometimes they are disillusioned. It has helped me a lot. Sister Sue, this is very temperamental.
Yeah, okay.
So when you are talking about Sister Sue, this comes to my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a team, you have a few members who are of the fixed mindset. They don't think they need professional development. They don't even think they need somebody to come and appraise them because they've been doing it for so long. Isn't that what we all hear? I've been doing it for so long.
Yep.
But how do we know that you're doing it right? How do we know that you are adding the new technology, the new resources that are coming in? Are you teaching the same old school way, or have you changed? And we've all gone through accreditations, and we've seen that this is what usually accreditation is looking for, right? Are the students engaged? Or is the teacher just teaching for 40 minutes at a stretch? When we hire, I have always been very mindful to surround myself with people who want to grow. And as a small school, that has benefited because people want to join if they have an opportunity of growth. If they join a huge school, they know it will be years before they will get a leadership opportunity. But if they join a smaller campus, a younger campus, and they are motivated, they are ready to learn, they are ready to give an extra few hours, they know that they will grow much faster. Another thing that has really worked is to know that everyone's opinion matters. Everyone's point of view is important. I have, even in our meetings, we come up with an idea, bring it to the team. I've always involved the team, always taken the shura, and nothing that we have done in 11 years, at least at Good Tree, has been without shura. So everyone, even an assistant teacher can get up and say, hey, you are trying to do it this way. How about we try it this way? And sometimes their ideas are great. And when you take their ideas, it motivates them. So they feel confident. I would ask this question in an interview: where do you see yourself in 3 years down the road or 5 years down the road? And when someone tells me, hey, I want to become a lead teacher, I want to be a principal in the next 5 years, I love to hire those people because I know they want to grow. I don't want yes, sir, yes, ma'am kind of people around me. I want to surround myself people who will question. Hey, you're doing it this way. Why? Sometimes this is also accountability for the leadership. If you make an environment where they can come, they talk to you respectfully, you reply to them respectfully. And I would tell them, hey guys, sometimes I might not do as you are saying. So at that time, you have to trust my judgment. And it has really worked well for me. And I think that is one trait that I really liked, was bringing the team, involving the team. And if you have a very large team of teachers, like I had a staff of 50, there came a time when even 50 was a lot. Then you have those smaller leadership teams that you have those discussions with, because everything cannot be discussed with 50 people. But when you have that is what makes a smaller school even so strong. because everyone knows that my opinion matters. I can do this extra work because it's not pushed upon me, forced upon me. I am doing it because maybe it was my idea and I am going to grow. And I've had every department head, every dean, every lead teacher on the campus is someone who has grown from a very young teacher into those roles. And that's why they like to be in that school environment, because they feel they can grow. They are not just a teacher who will not be heard. So surrounding yourself with people who have a growth mindset is very important. You definitely get a few who are not ready to change, who are not ready to listen. But sometimes they will listen to teachers, not to the leadership. So you find who they will listen to and you bring them on board. You see, that's the way you can make them do, because some give you a hard time, especially I'll tell you stories when it's time for teacher appraisal. Man, it's difficult if they don't want to change.
So what I'm hearing here is, just like students, they need to have a voice.
Yes.
You want to inculcate a sense of ownership of the school in every teacher so they feel enfranchised. And you will note that there are certain teachers who are automatically leaders. And I'll add, if you are a new administrator, sometimes those teacher leaders have more sway with the group of teachers than you do at first. So the trick is get them on your team.
Get them on your team and make them do the work. And you know, the trick is you make them do what you want them to do, but they feel they are doing it because they want to do it. Because they are involved, they have that ownership. And another key is, you know your team. You can sense their strengths. And sometimes, like I had a Qira'ah teacher. You know, every new student, and Good Tree Academy has been a Hifz school. So our focus is on Quran memorization. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And she would walk up every time a new student would come in, and she would literally follow me. I would call those drive-through meetings. You know, I'm walking down the hallway, she would stop me and she would say, you know, this new student, I don't have time, but he or she really needs to have proper tajweed. Can you just give me that extra 10 minutes? Can I just pull him out? I will teach him during my lunch break. I have spoken to that other teacher. She is willing to give him that extra time because we really want him to. One year I saw that religiously. Every time a new student came, she would take ownership. Very, very dedicated, but very shy person. Next year, I offered to make her the Qira'ah department head. I opened up a Qira'ah department head position and I put her there. Now she's been there for 5-6 years, mashallah. And very shy. When it's time for annual meetings, she would say, can someone else do it? But believe me, if Sister Rania was not there, I don't think Good Tree Academy's Qira'ah would be where it is. And our local Islamic centers that offer the full-time Hifz, and I feel it's a big compliment that some of those sheikhs, they tell families that if you want to bring your child for full-time Hifz, put them in Good Tree Academy in the elementary years. And when they come, we don't need to work with them. So I think that's a great compliment for any school, especially if they are doing Hifz. But I think the credit goes to Sister Rania, because now she had that position. Now she could pull the teachers, she could assign them, she could do, and I never had to worry about it, that any student who walked into Good Tree, because my philosophy was, yes, we offer Hifz, but Hifz is not for everyone. So everyone who comes into the school will not be able to walk out a Hafiz or a Hafizah. But everyone who walks into the school should know how to recite the Quran properly. And by offering Qira'ah, we were able to do that. And mashallah, hats off to Sister Rania, bless her soul. She is doing a great job. So that's a very good example for that. Then growth mindset. You know, professional development, I feel is, and please everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We are such a small group. I feel we can have discussion. If you have any thoughts, feel free to ask. So professional development, we all put it in our school academic calendars, right? At the beginning of the year, we do the professional development. Then we, throughout the year, maybe we see what time of the year. Every state is different. I try to go into your schools, and mashallah, amazing job all of you are doing. Because we are a small group, I wanted it to be very personal. So I wanted to see, and I was very impressed by the work that all of you are doing in your schools. So mashallah. And you know, professional development days are already in the academic calendar. However, what kind of professional development are we going to be doing, right? Sometimes we change because you see that we are struggling something. It could be any issue. You know your schools, you know your community better than anyone else. You know your staff, you know your students. So you could change that. And you know, the growth mindset, the planning has to be from the top bottom. So the leadership needs to go, just like you guys are giving your personal time on a Saturday morning, and you're sitting here because you want to grow, you want to learn, right? So please, I would encourage you to make sure that your team knows that you have been attending these sessions, because they can see, oh, if my principal and assistant principal can sit on a Saturday and attend because she believes in this growth, I can do it too. Right?
Sister Uzma, your mic just got a little bit muffled. Has something changed?
No, I think I got too excited.
That's better. Okay.
So what I was saying, that when you are coming to these Saturday morning professional development sessions every month, please share that with your team so they can see that our leadership is focused and they are giving their personal time for professional development. Then from leadership goes down to teachers and even to the administrative staff. I would even send my front desk managers for professional development training on how to deal with difficult parents. You know, we have parents that they would come late in the morning, and after grade 1, they start giving tardies. If 8 o'clock is the school in session, 8:02, they would get a tardy slip. Some parents would throw the bag on the floor. Or if they're supposed to pick up their child at 3:30, latest 4 o'clock, they come at 4:15, and the school would charge them $5 because they are picking their child late. A parent threw a bunched up $5 bill at the front office. She just threw it at their face that this is what you want, so go for it and take it. And the admin comes to me running and crying in tears. You know, so you have to think it's not only the teachers. For us as leader, it's our entire team. So every year then we would send them that, okay, you need to go and get this training, how you can keep a straight face. Because remember, one important thing I would tell them, and it's for myself too, I told myself that they are not, if somebody is angry, number one, they are doing it because they're angry. And they are doing it to your title. If they threw the money, they threw it at the front desk. Anyone could have been sitting there. It's not a specific person. So we don't take it personally. But when we have that training, the training helps them. And they also feel like we are not the least important people, that the principal is going for training and the teachers are getting the training. But what about us? So they also get involved and they feel important, and they also learn in the same process. And I've had my front desk admin learning, growing into an academic advisor. Because when she joined, she said, I don't want to be a front desk person for more than 2 years. I want to grow. But in order to grow, she gave that extra time. She was ready for anything. And alhamdulillah, she got the training, she went for sessions, and she shadowed. And then alhamdulillah, she is doing a great job. So what is the goal, right? If your goal is growth, professional development is the means to support that growth. But as long as you know that when you are giving somebody this hope that, yes, this is an environment where you have, you are just as much a stakeholder as everyone else, and I will be there to support you and I will help you grow as long as you give me your best. And when they grow, word of mouth is faster than anything else. You will be surprised how they bring team members. When you need someone, they'll say, oh, I know someone, and they would even come from other schools. So that growth mindset and planning is really important. When we talk about professional development, just like we were talking about the front desk, right? In a school that all of the Islamic schools teach Quran, some focus on memorization. So when we are sitting and we are talking during our professional development meetings about maybe lesson planning, right? Lesson planning most of the time is not relevant to the memorization. So they need completely different set of professional development. And that's where the team that we have built comes into play. You give that to your department heads, to your dean of religious studies if you have one, or even the lead teachers, team leads. So they don't feel, one thing that I've noticed, some of us, that Islamic schools, we are just all sitting in one room. It's professional development day, let's do the professional development. And that can be really boring. So when you want it to be, you were saying something, Sister Nagin, you were mute. So,
yeah, I'm just agreeing with everything you're saying. That's all.
thank you.
Yeah.
Because it really gets boring for them. So, but they get excited when they know as soon as it's professional development, we are going to break out into 3 rooms and we will get something specific. They will be able to discuss the issues they are having and how the administration can support them. And English math teachers get together, sports and art teachers get together. So those become really relevant at that time. What we have also done is that we have utilized the time, because this, I'm sure all of you hear that a lot, right? When you talk about professional development, teachers say, there's no time. We have to do the grading, we have to do lesson planning. We don't have time for professional development on the regular basis. So what we did was we used the weekly meetings. We used to have a meeting every Wednesday. Then we felt that we are becoming very monotonous, teaching English, math, science, where are the grades, what's going on? I felt that we were missing that connection. Why are we all working in an Islamic school? Where is the tarbiyah for the students? Tarbiyah is also a big part of professional development. But how can we talk about tarbiyah when we are not doing something actively and showing it, right? So we decided, and we've been doing it for 8 years, I think. First Wednesday of the month, we would just have a halakha. So if we felt that we are not being team players, something like this, the dean would offer a halakha, talk about something from the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We would all sit together and she would relate something and involve everyone in that conversation. It just kind of reignites your spirit for working in an Islamic school, because usually the salary is not the best, the benefits are not the best, the hours are long, parents are more involved. So you have to see what is working for the teachers, right? So that really helped. Another thing that for me, one of my professors, when I was getting my master's, they told us that, Uzma, remember, every time you have your team together, spend $5 and get them something to eat. And she said, just randomly. And believe me, it has worked like magic. Food brings people together like nothing else does. I would always if it's a cold weather, we would get samosas for everyone. And at the beginning of the meeting, I would personally serve them to all. We would always have, I know that my Most of my Arabic team, Arabic and Islamic studies team, they love to have fresh fruit. Whereas my team members who were from Indo-Pak, they wanted to have chaats and samosas. So usually, and it's not very expensive. So I would have some samosas and some grapes, or some even cuties, you know, those little oranges. You would be surprised that teachers love to peel it right there and they would eat it. I would have those at the beginning of the meetings every single time. Every professional development, I would offer some snacks and make coffee, and they would relax and they would enjoy that time. Another thing we did we started using a lot of educational jargon. I felt that this is something that many Islamic schools miss out on. Every one of us is doing a great job, working really hard because we are wearing so many hats, right? But we forget in the process that we have to use that educational jargon. So when our teachers are sitting in a different professional setting, they can relate. And you know, the first wake-up call for us was 10 years ago when we were doing the accreditation. So we were doing the self-assessment and we were thinking, what are all these terms? Teachers would ask. And then we said, okay, let's break it down. What does it mean? And then see, are we doing it? And they realized, oh yes, we are doing all of this. I said, we are doing it, but we are not calling it that, right? So we started using that educational jargon. It became an important element of our school. Like you would call, otherwise, you know, one of my very experienced teacher went to a region meeting and they came back and they said, Sister Uzma, they were talking about PLCs. And I was so happy that I knew exactly what they were talking about. Because see, we call them meetings, we call them professional development, we don't call them PLCs. So what we did was that first Wednesday of the month, we would have a halaka. Then the second Wednesday of the month, we would have a PLC. So we would only have a staff meeting once a month. Two times a month, they would use 1 hour of the meeting time to get together into different groups. So there's a group for Islamic studies, there's a group of Quran, there's a group of math and science teachers, and a group of English and social studies teachers. And they would get together and they would analyze data. They would discuss how, you know, like math scores. And they were excited because now they felt that they are using that time wisely. You know, even those ones who are resistant, they cannot say, I don't have any student who has a gap in learning. So now they were happy that they can use. For a smaller school, we did vertical alignment, 3rd grade and 4th grade teacher. They can see that, okay, what are the expectations from a 4th grade teacher for my students? So I can prepare my students when they move to 4th grade. So there is no blame game at the time that, oh, the 3rd grade teacher didn't prepare them. So there was that vertical alignment, and this was the time for teachers to do that. Bigger schools that have multiple sections for each grade level, they can even have the horizontal alignment. 3rd grade team get together, 4th grade team get together and see what you are doing. You know, you can share ideas. We would even do, if there are multiple sections, then one teacher can prepare the math lesson plan, the other one can prepare the English lesson plan. So that will help them break down their workload. They would analyze MAP scores. MAP is the measures of academic progress. I don't know if you all use it, but we use it twice a year for the students, and it gives excellent results on how you can see where the gaps are, how you can make groups of students within the classroom to help them bridge that gap, and the teachers would use this time effectively. And I felt they were so happy. On the dot, they would use 1 hour, they would do this, and they went home much happier. Whereas in the past, when every week was a meeting, teachers would say, Sister Uzma, is the agenda really important? Do I really need to stay for the meeting? You know, I really have to do this thing or that thing. That ended. And another thing, like I was talking about using technology. When they get together for these PLCs, I would tell them, can you assign, just like we tell the students, right, for their activities, assign one person to be the scribe. One person should take notes that what did we learn in this PLC and what are we going to do the next time? And can you just email it to me? So at the end of every other Wednesday, I would receive at least 6 emails because there are 6 groups of people working on what they discussed and what they will be doing next. Do you all have any questions, any suggestions, anything that you would like to share?
That's ingenious. I think that 2 things come to my mind when we're talking about staff training. Learning management system training for the office staff will always be useful. And when you were having your slide about the Quran teachers and memorization, how many of us actually coach our Quran teachers in learning science?
Yes.
You know, where you're going to study something, directly go to sleep, or you have spaced learning. These are the things, the tools that maybe they've not been exposed to before that are topics that perhaps could be used for their professional development. Anybody else have any questions or care to share?
I just had a quick, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, I'll go after you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask one more time, Sister Uzma, your approach to the biweekly meetings. You know, right now we have biweekly meetings. We meet every other Tuesday. And, you know, on our agenda, I mean, we use a whole hour just talking about odds and ends, like talking about conferences are coming up. This is what you need to have, you know, look at your, you know, star scores and be sure to share these with your parents. And, you know, so when do you get that time to do that? And you said the first Wednesday of every month you guys meet for a halaqah.
Just a spiritual, yes.
Okay. And then the second Wednesday is your like PLCs and that type of thing. Okay, so it is only 2 Wednesdays a month that you guys meet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2 Wednesdays for PLC, 1 is a staff meeting. And I just, you know, especially when we all went digital overnight, I realized that in a staff meeting, sometimes they're tired, they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
I started using Google Forms. You know, the small housekeeping things, we would just put it in a Google form and we would email it to them, and they are just supposed to write their name at the end. And if they have a question or a comment, they are welcome, and they would send it back. So as soon as they did that, that's kind of a documentation, like a memo. Everyone has received, this needs to be done, and we have a record. So that really helps. And I will tell you later on when we go into appraisal, how we have utilized the Google Forms, and they have been like next best friend. And they have really, because teachers, even the resistant ones who said, okay, I know what the drill is, why am I sitting in this meeting? They are getting that information, because by that frustration, maybe they are not focused. And if there are few who are not focused, it's contagious. You know, you don't want the others to feel that what you're saying is not important enough. So when you feel this kind of a vibe starting in your team, you find ways when you can effectively convey the message and you still have the team's buy-in.
Right.
So when you were talking about the conferences coming up, we have done that when parent-teacher conference is coming up. To say that you will share this, yes, there will be 10 who might do it. I have spoken to parents and say, hey, yes, how did the conference go? Did you see your? They said, oh, I asked for the map scores, but the teacher didn't give it to me. And I'm thinking to myself, I told them to have it printed.
Right.
This is the time when we are handing it out. What happened? You know, so what we did for several years, right before the parent-teacher conference, we would do role plays. So I would make small roles, scenarios, multiple scenarios. We would all get together and teachers would volunteer and we would give them scenarios of a parent who is really upset because their child didn't do good. How is the teacher going to address it? And believe me, that was the teachers loved it, because now they are prepared. Otherwise, if you're not expecting a parent to get mad at you, if you're not expecting a parent to throw the blame back at you, and sometimes teachers do it too. We have to be very careful. I would always tell the teachers that if the student is not the brightest, he's somebody's child, he's a human being, and everyone has something good about them, right? And when you are working with a student for 8 hours a day, you are the best person to find those qualities. And remember to talk about those qualities with parents. Because for the parent who's sitting in a meeting, they are the apple of their eye. They would like to know the first thing they will remember. So when they come to a meeting, you always tell them, oh my God, he's such a great helper in the classroom, or he's always so well spoken or well dressed or something. So parents remember the first thing, and then you slide in whatever you feel that the student needs to improve in. But the role plays really helped. And having those printed, helping the teachers, okay, we'll have the map scores printed out and you will have them at your desk. So the office, like I said, my front office, I don't think I would have succeeded over the years if I did not have the kind of team I had. So a lot of credit most of the credit goes to the team. And the front office, they supported, because in Islamic schools, we don't have like personal secretaries and then someone else and then someone, we don't have that kind of luxury. But when you develop a team, they do all this work and they facilitate it for you. So role plays before we would dedicate, okay, this is also PLC, right? So we will skip this because it's right before parent-teacher conference, and we are going to focus on how we will address the parent-teacher conference coming up. Yes, Sister Farah, you had a question?
No, Assalamu alaikum. Didn't have any question. Just wanted to acknowledge, and alhamdulillah, I mean, you're on spot on, Sister Uzma, with all these things. Professional development has to be job embedded, otherwise it's not successful. And PLC is a wonderful forum for it. Your department meetings are a wonderful forum for it. And for PLCs, alhamdulillah, I mean, at Everest, what we do is we have a PLC. So we have a focus question that lasts for the entire month. And then our instructional coach facilitates those conversations by setting in through their PLC times. So we have, sometimes we'll have, and our PLC groups are flexible. Based on the topic, sometimes we'll have them subject-wide, sometimes we'll have them grade level, depending on the need of the hour. And so as Islamic school lead, it's important for us to keep pulse on what's happening, not just in your school, but what's happening nationally or globally, and how you can bring in those initiatives in your PLCs. So again, your PLC groupings have to be flexible, keep a pulse on the current environment and the educational technology and whatever is available. So that's totally helpful. Just wanted to affirm to what is being discussed so far. Thank you, Sister Uzma, for alhamdulillah saying it so beautifully. Inshallah.
I would not say that I'm surprised, because mashallah, all of you are doing an excellent job in your schools, and you know your school community better than anyone else. You know your stakeholders. And like you're saying, knowing, because we've done so many things, I don't think 2 hours is enough time to even share the different experiences. When we are talking about national, just like I'm sure every Islamic school does it and every school does it, when it's time for elections, holding those elections on campus and seeing how that goes. When it was time for coronation and when it was time for inauguration, showing it live to the students. And even when the results of the elections, if students differ, especially if you have a high school, you will know that students have strong opinions. Giving them that platform that, hey, how do you feel today? Would you like to discuss something? Giving them that opportunity to be able to discuss so that they don't get upset and discuss amongst themselves. So giving them that time, making all these through these professional development opportunities. Another great thing that has, in an Islamic school, we want them to integrate Islamic values in other subjects as well, right? We feel you are a Muslim throughout the day. You are not a Muslim only during the Islamic studies period or the Quran period. And usually teachers have really grown into it, that they use these PLCs and they would say, hey, I'm working on a math lesson. Can you tell me some, how I can integrate some Islam in it? Or do you know of any mathematicians who were Muslims? And then some of the teachers who have that kind of knowledge, they would share it with others and they would be able to integrate that. Then,
Sister,
go ahead.
sorry, Sister Uzma. So one of the things that I do is I evaluate professional development every year. Last year, we picked a few classes and we had teachers, take the classes because we wanted to change the approach to, let's see if a group, if a whole school PD would work. And it was successful to some degree, but this year we decided to be more strategic. We're going to use our EANS fund as well as, our, Title II money, and then whatever PD money we have from the school, and we're going to put it into coaching and mentoring and having like a real coach come in and work with the teachers, different voice, person who doesn't know our school. And we thought, yes, I know I will get some resistance, but I think, many are going to be very excited about this, this approach. So that's, what do you think about, this strategy for this coming year?
I think that's a great strategy. I think that's a great strategy because over the years we have used title funds for professional development. And I think it is going to come up in one of the slides. And I know for Texas, we have the regions, right, Sister Farah? And, I don't know which region is in your area, because in Dallas, we have region 10.
We have region 4 in Texas, in Houston area.
So we get our title funds through there. And usually they offer a professional development package. And we don't have to pay anything out of pocket, even if it's $2,800, depends upon our school, where our student body is coming from. Usually every year it is covered. And at the beginning of the year, I would tell the teachers that you should register with Region 10 under Good Tree Academy name. After that, I would encourage the teachers that please look at it and see if you find professional development that is specific to you. Because and I'm sure it's the same, something similar, because if you have 15 teachers, they will come to your campus. If you have less than 15 teachers, they will not come to your campus. So that's where you have to be creative. So over the years, yes, we have used title funds and brought in people from outside to train them, even to something as simple as pedagogy or classroom management, because it's always good to hear from other people.
Yes.
They get tired hearing from us. So we have to make sure that we change that. And every year, especially at the beginning of the year, and sometimes those full professional development days that are dedicated, I had never decided on it from the beginning of the year, because we do the professional development at the beginning. So how our days were spent, we would call in someone for 1 or 2 trainings. Then from within the team, somebody is going to train them on the school management system. If we have a group of teachers we felt have been struggling with just emails, sometimes because we encourage them, whenever you are sending an email to the entire classroom, always blind copy everyone's name in it, because some parents do not like if their names are shared with everyone. And teachers usually make this mistake of just open copying everyone. Or if they are blind copying me, they make a mistake of open copying. And then some people, parents get irritated, because if it's an email regarding a concern and the principal is openly copied, parents don't feel good about it. So we, just like we were talking about need-based. So at the beginning of the year, then we would dedicate some time just to train them on how to make contacts, how to make groups in email, how to send blind copy emails, all of that, how to make folders in their emails. So we would dedicate on each of those areas, how to put in grades. I don't know about, every school is different. but we had very clear guidelines for the teachers. That elementary teachers, each marking period, which is maybe 12 weeks, there must be at least 6 homework grades. There must be at least 6 classwork grades. There must be at least, 4 quiz grades. So teachers have a clear idea that I have to input at least this many grades for the data to be some solid data for a report card. For middle and high school, we would tell them every class time has to be accounted for. It is up to the teacher, whether they give it a classwork grade or a homework grade, quiz grade, but every class time, because those students would get a tardy during the school day if they are late from one period to the other period. So therefore, it has to mean something, right? If there is no grade given to the period, I can be tardy, but I know this is a grade. So students would also, and the parents would stay on top. But you are absolutely right. Bringing in people, looking at the vibe, like after the first period, if the next professional development comes in November or in October, we would know what we need. We would get together. I would ask teachers to throw me an email, write it on an index card, leave it outside my office. What do you think we should focus on? What do you think we need to work on this time? And if the majority is on the same page, we would provide them that. What we would do with Region 10, we would say that, okay, everyone, you need to go for professional development, because if I have 3 teachers who teach English, right, I cannot send all 3 out. Who's going to teach those 3 grades? I cannot find 3 substitutes. So if they have a specific need, one needs help in planning, the other needs help in something else, look at the opportunities, and it's in their contract that we would spend money for them. And I would tell them, you tell me you have this workshop, how it's going to benefit your classroom, and you get a school day off, you go attend that training. We will pay for a substitute who will take care of your class, and then you bring in back the certificate and you can use it. If it is something that others can benefit, then I would try to give time and opportunity for that teacher where she can be in a group setting and she can convey the knowledge that she learned through that professional development. So it's definitely, and then some of these things like planning, team meetings are regular, encouraging department heads to just meet on their own time. I would also encourage them to look for the strengths in their department and look whatever they need. Like I had an excellent department head, but she was great in everything other than writing. She could not for her life remember to take down notes or send email reminders. So I told her that you are good in everything else. Look in your team. Who is great at that? Assign it to them. You are the team lead. Because of that title, they listen to you. So you can make them do it, and then she can send the notes to everyone. And she was so happy because when they become, when you make them team leads or when they are lead teachers, initially they are shy because it's not easy for them to tell someone else, hey, you need to do this, or can you do this for me? But slowly and gradually they learn and they realize how they can utilize that opportunity. Collaboration. And just like what I was saying right now, collaboration is the key, right? We collaborate with our staff. We collaborate amongst the leadership, with the teachers, and we also collaborate with other schools. It could be other Islamic schools, other public schools. Because when I would go on these trainings, I would make contacts with other schools as well. Like I had once this International Leadership Academy of Texas. I had their principal who is in Garland. We were in Plano and we said, hey, you know what? How about can we exchange teachers for a day? And she really liked that idea, so that my teacher can go and spend a day there and see how their school works, what they are doing, and their teacher can come over to our school. And you'll be surprised how some people are really welcoming and forthcoming of these suggestions. We collaborated with other Islamic schools. And what we did was that okay, my Arabic department is strong. So how about when we have the Arabic professional development, your team can come here. But my English department is really small and you have a big and a very strong department. So you can invite my department, my teachers to come and get training there. And we did that. And it was really beneficial. Teachers would go and they would learn and they would come back and they will implement those strategies. So I feel collaboration is really important, and giving the support is really important, because everybody wants to know that I'm going to succeed, right? And if you fail, it's okay. I would always tell the teachers that failure is a learning opportunity. If once or twice you do not fail at something, you will not realize that things can be done differently. So for me, it has always been important, and alhamdulillah, it has worked really well with the team.
That was a great suggestion about exchanging teachers. You know, from my school, we were literally across the street from a large public high school. And so we had our Arabic teachers go and visit. They actually had Arabic classes, but they had French, they had Spanish also. But our language teachers would go over to the public high school, and then they would send their teachers over to us so that we can see the difference in environments and in teaching strategies. It was really very didactic.
See, that's really great, and they learn so much. And sometimes it works as a building up tool to build up the confidence, because they can see other larger schools doing something and they realize that they are very small, but they are doing so many of those similar things that they come back really confident and energized. I remember when COVID hit, I made a Google Classroom. I became the teacher, and I put all the teachers, we were on spring break, as my students. And we were texting, and we were in that room, and I told them, okay, I would give assignments, I would grade, excuse me. And I would tell them that this is how your students can see the Google Classroom. Because especially our religious studies teachers had never used Google Classroom. They were like shocked that how is that going to work? In 1 week, alhamdulillah, I think they had really mastered, and I'm sure all of you did the same thing. One of my teachers, who was very strong personality, used to speaking up her mind and telling you if you do something wrong, she will make sure to tell you in the meeting that, hey, this is wrong. You know, that kind of person. When you gain respect of someone like that, I think that's the time you give yourself a pat on the back and say, okay, alhamdulillah. So she signed up with Region 10 to learn about Google Classroom and to learn about something. And she said, she came back to Uzma, it was so boring because we knew so much more that I was telling, when I told the instructor, she said, oh, really, you know so much. Why don't you come and help me so we can go into those breakout rooms and you can help me learn. So when she came back and she shared that in the meeting, it kind of boosted everyone's confidence. You know, when you have, sometimes when we are always talking, Islamic schools have very low budget, low this, less resources, we all begin to think that maybe we are doing something less than bigger public schools, right? But in fact, I don't think that's the case. I think we are doing just as well as public schools, if not better in some cases. So I think that's very important for all of us. When you talk about professional development or even appraisal, we are talking about our team, right? One thing that I learned when I was very young, first became a principal, I thought, what does that mean? They are doing their job. Why do I have to recognize them, right? They're coming, they're teaching, they get their salary. But as I matured, I realized it's a very, very important thing. And I have incorporated that over the years to remind myself and remind everyone that you must recognize everyone on your team, you must thank everyone on your team, appreciate them regularly and visibly. It's very important. We started several years ago, we started Teacher of the Month. So we would, first I had a huge criteria that, okay, this is how we would select, then didn't have time. So we would quickly, randomly see which teacher did something out of the box, which teacher showed more, passion or took an initiative. So we would, in the morning assembly, we would gather the entire school, announce that teacher to be the teacher of the month, give $25, $30 in an envelope for the teacher and her better half or his better half, significant other, to go out for a lunch. And we did an assigned dedicated parking spot with a big sign, teacher of the month. And then we would send out in the newsletter with their picture and something nice. This is the teacher of the month. And in the school management system also, their picture. So everywhere. And I would encourage them. I had a bulletin board that you can tell something about yourself. So some teachers were shy, they didn't want to. Some were very happy. They would post pictures of their families and their youth, and they would say what they like to do. So Teacher of the Month was a big hit. It is a big hit till this day. But then you realize that you have 50 teachers or 80 teachers, and there are 10 months in the school year. So how many teachers can you recognize, right? Yes, Sister Farah.
So we just started to finish. I was just laughing out loud on that. We started Wall of Fame for our teachers. So every month we are recognizing 7 teachers because we have way too many. Can't have one teacher of the month. So 7 teachers, we take their pictures, we post them on that Wall of Fame with a little blurb on what they've done extraordinary. Like one teacher extremely helpful at drop off and dismissal. Even it's not her duty, she would just step out on time and just help with the traffic and parent, whatever, inshallah. Another teacher is amazing at just the way she enforces her COVID protocols in the classroom and in the hallways as students are transitioning.
Excellent.
So, alhamdulillah. So again, picking up 7 besties for one specific good thing they do and recognizing them, inshallah ta'ala, that was something that was very well received by my staff. And I just noted your suggestion on putting them on the newsletter. So I think that would be something, inshallah, we'll do as well. So thank you.
Excellent, excellent. And, we went through the same. We realized there are 10 months, but you'll be surprised, how popular Teacher of the Month is. When I would make a Teacher of the Month in December or March, some teachers would come to me and they would say, Sister Uzma, why did you choose me for December? I said, what happened? She said, there are only 2 weeks. I only get to park for 2 weeks, or I only get to park for, and you realize that, oh my God, how important it is for them, So you realize that. So what we started doing in order to reach out to more teachers, we started doing bi-weekly. We randomly put in all the teachers and the staff name in a basket. I would get together in morning assembly. Even my kindergarten students knew when they would come to the main hall for the assembly and they would sit down all around the hall. They knew this is time for teacher appreciation. I would go around, students would raise their hands who will pick a name, and randomly 5 or 7 names every 2 weeks, they will pick out from the basket. We will announce the teacher name. We will call the teacher to the front. And then we had different gifts. Like we would give them a free hot lunch pass, or we will give them they get a free early dismissal or a gene day, and you'll be served. And we had some gifts that we would put on a cart and they can choose a gift from there. So that way I could recognize every teacher at least twice a year, in addition to doing Teacher of the Month. And we realized that, okay, we need to do some more. And we did what you were saying, Sister Farah. We did a wall of fame right outside the teachers' lounge. And we said, anyone who has done anything, we would take a card, post it, put it there, and recognize them. And even encourage teachers to recognize teachers. Or teachers, like we even recognize our custodian. Like, thank you, Sister Iman, for always helping in the classroom. And so that was really popular because everyone started recognizing someone else. So it kind of also taught us and the team that it's not only important for the leadership to recognize, we should also recognize each other. And sometimes they even recognize the leadership. So alhamdulillah, that was a hit. And I would even ask students, hey, how can we do more, for the teachers? So all these ideas, recognizing it really makes them happy. We would even, when we got the PA system, we really used it to its maximum. We would announce on the PA system if the teacher or somebody did something really good. Another great professional development, you can say, and Tarbiyah, from a Tarbiyah perspective, something that I started like 3 years ago, was Hadith of the Week. So what we started doing was, initially I used to search it up, but then my Islamic Studies department head took over. So the first Hadith of the week, I would read on the intercom on the PA system and read the translation. And I would email it to all the teachers. But then the department heads, alhamdulillah, started taking over, or the teacher would do it. And we would do Hadith of the week for 1 week. The goal was that if there are 36 weeks in a school year, if we do 36 Hadith, by the end of the year, everyone would have learned something, right? Even if they remember 6 or 10 Hadith, I think it's a win-win. And teachers would incorporate those Hadiths in their classrooms throughout the week. And at the end of the week, sometimes randomly we would ask in the morning assembly, hey, what is the Hadith of the week? What have you done with it? You know, so students, and then what we did was we put in the names of all the students in a basket, and randomly every morning, the front office staff would pick one name, and then they would call that student to the front office. The student would go to the mic, the student would announce their name. My name is Uzma, I'm in 3rd grade, the Hadith of the week is this. And then the student would read the Hadith. So it gave students the confidence, and they really liked it when they came to the front, and the entire school is quiet and listening to the student read the Hadith and the translation. So it really, that was something. So alhamdulillah, from a recognition point of view, we realized that recognizing the teachers regularly and visibly is really important. Another thing that sometimes recognizing them privately. Sometimes when a few teachers have been working really hard, or I felt that they are really getting stressed, what I would do is I would take a card, write a personal thank you, appreciation, and maybe with a chocolate, leave it at their desk. So that the next morning when they come, that is the first thing they see on their desk. And you have no idea, I have had teachers walk to me with tears that, oh my God, we were so stressed, but that really, made my day, and I am so energized going forward. So
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sister Uzma. I just wanted to, this is really resonating with me just because, I was a teacher for so long. I still am a teacher. So I'm also, admin as well. So I have a very unique perspective, I think. So I have been trying really hard since I've had this position. It's small, but I've been trying to maybe, take some pictures of some anchor charts that a few teachers have done that I thought were super cute. Like our 3rd grade teacher was teaching possessive nouns, and her anchor chart said, hey, that's mine. I thought that was so cute. And so, I took a picture of it and sent it through the WhatsApp group for teachers. And, it's a small, tiny thing, but I'm hoping to grow it into, teacher of the month situation here. But that small little thing, just, it makes such a difference. To me too, like when I get a little note or something tiny, it just makes it all worth it somehow. It's just, that tiny bit of affirmation is so important.
That is so true. That is so true. And you are right on track, because these things you learn with experience, that they are so important. Because especially, I would say, do it during springtime. I don't know if you've all heard of spring fever, they say in education, because by the time spring comes, these are the standardized testing coming up. So the midterms, the finals are coming up. Teachers are under pressure to complete the curriculum, right? And they have to make sure that their students are ready. Teachers are under a lot of stress. That's why teachers are frustrated at that time. That is the time where your professional development and your everything has to be focused on building up that teacher capacity. You know, by doing all of this, like one year, I think it was this last year, because teachers were so frustrated with the COVID and everything, when they came back to the campus, what we did entire day, I just talked to the art teacher and I told her, I know it's professional development. I just want to make it fun. I want everyone to relax and realize why we are in it. She had a beautiful art project. She brought in leaves, huge leaves that she had cut. And that was the task. Everyone was sitting thinking what they're going to do right now. All they got was paint and those leaves. So everyone decided to paint those. After we were done painting, we had dedicated a wall to the art teacher. So she put it up like a mural with everyone's name on it. And that was the work that the teachers had done. My admins got together. We wanted some fun. My admins filled each balloon with washable paint. We put it on a board. Those of us who are from Pakistan, you know, there are parts of Pakistan where you could go and they have those big boards with small balloons on it. And then they have those kind of BB guns that you can stand and you can take shot and you can pop the balloons. So if you pop a few, just like they have it here at different events, you get a prize. So we did that. We divided the team into 5 groups. We had 5 boards with different balloons, but what they didn't know, the balloons were filled with paint. And we got dark. So we went outside by the playground, we put it there. And in different teams, whoever did it first. So we gave them a few seconds. And you have no idea how exciting it was, even for the brothers. They were just like, oh my God, I wish I had done it more often. But I feel that was the best professional development day that they had. All they did was they did the balloons with the paint. And because we just told them, hey, come in close, that you don't mind getting dirty. So they were like, what are we going to do tomorrow, right? But, and they painted, they had a good lunch, which we served, and they came the next morning, the energy in the school was different. They were ready to do anything. So, you know, at that time, if I had worked with them on lessons or pedagogy or something else, that would not have worked. So like Farah was saying, and like another, I think Aisha was saying, you know your school, right? You know your community. You can feel what is the need at that time. So after COVID, we felt that is what the need was. And it really, it was like fire. It was so much fun. And we've done that at the beginning. I gave the teachers plates, you know, those paper plates, and tell them that when you think about school or student, what is the one word that comes to your mind? And everyone wrote it with their name on the plate. We made a collage of that plate, all those plates, and we have a bulletin board in middle and high school, and we put up all of those on there. So when the students would walk by, they would see that, oh, this is what my principal feels, you know, my students, or, you know, collaboration or whatever. And that was really a big motivation for the students as well, because they realize that, okay, our teachers, you know, we mean so much to them. So different ideas.
This is ingenious. It's a reminder to me, we work so hard that we don't really take time for ourselves to ever play. And then as teachers, how often do we remember that even the children need to play sometimes? So that's great balance. We have about 40 minutes left. Are we good on time, Sister Uzma?
Yes, inshallah. Great. So I will not go through this list, but I put it up here. All these organizations are really helpful for professional development, for the staff, for us, NASSP, NAESP, National Council of Teachers of Math, Teachers of Science. These have really I have really used them over the years. By joining up to be a member of NASSP, I was able to open the charter of National Elementary Honor Society, National Junior Honor Society, and I've had those for 6-7 years, or maybe more than that. And it really builds up. And these are national policies. You find a teacher amongst your staff who would be a good fit, and you make them the advisor, and you share guidelines, and everything is there to help you. So if you are interested, these are really good resources that I encourage you. If you're a member of NASSP or NAESP, you can find those presidential awards, the President's Award, and Gold Award and Silver Award. If you're not doing it, these are certificates that come signed by the President of the United States based on the academic performance of the students. And they are for free. So near the end of the year, you can just go in and you can type up how many gold, how many silver you need. And I think they start from 3rd grade up, and then you can give them to your students. And it's really impressive. So these things build up your school, right? Now it's not just like a mom and pop school. You're doing this National Honor Society and National Student Council. If you're a high school, it really helps to get all of this. Actful has been really helpful. It's for teachers of foreign language. So I had my Arabic teachers and team leads. So you only pay membership for one person, and then they can share. I put in my region 10, that's the local that we would log in, and the teachers would not go for the professional development. Then I would print it out and I would say, okay, guys, come and choose. And then when I realized that that was a lot of work for me, I started putting it in the contract that you have to go for professional development once in fall and once in spring. So that became automatically something of an expectation. Then when you think about these organizations, I think they are $300, $400, $500, $200 membership. You think, where are the funds coming from, right? That is the question that comes to our mind. But the funds can be the PD funds that you have. The funds could be the Title II funds that you have. You can use your Title II funds, and they will pay for all these organizations. So now as we go from professional development into teacher appraisal, we realize, and I would just like to, it really resonates with me, because professional development is the tool, right? It's the resource, is the tool that we use for our growth. Then teacher appraisal is the process by which we assess if the growth has really taken place. So they have to be embedded. Like Farah said, these professional development and appraisal process has to be embedded. You have to build it like it becomes the school culture. It's a normal thing that, okay, when you teach the students, and I would give the teachers this example, you teach the students a lesson. How do you assess that they have mastered that skill, right? You give them a quiz, or you ask them something, a pop quiz, written quiz, test. So in the same manner, when you are teaching, how do you know where your class stands? That's the appraisal process, right? But as long as there is support, I really love the Texas teachers appraisal, evaluation and appraisal process. I really love that. I have done PDAS for many years, but I think when Texas moved to TTES, they did a great job. And I was looking at most of your states. I realized that every state has something similar. So there is no single way of evaluation. One size really does not fit all. You are the best judge of your school, of your staff. You can see whether you would like to adopt something that the state has, or you would like to create something of your own. There was a time when I created my own professional development appraisal, and I would have it printed in big stacks with carbon paper. That was like 12 years ago. So I would have that appraisal that I had created printed in carbon paper. So one copy goes in the teacher's file, one copy goes to the teacher, and one copy was for me. And then we had Elliot. I used Elliot for a few years, and I loved it. Elliot was really good too. But when I moved to T-Test, I don't think anyone can move me back because it is really amazing. So adopt a system if you don't have one. If you have one, alhamdulillah, as long as it addresses, in my opinion, it addresses these key 4 aspects of teacher appraisal. And we'll go into that. But before we go into the 4 aspects of teacher appraisal, the important thing to remember is that it's a process. It doesn't start and then ends. No, it is a process that continues year after year, especially if you have teacher longevity, it will continue. So for teacher appraisal, you have to give every year an annual orientation or a refresher course. If you are a licensed appraiser, you know that the refresher course is mandatory. If you're not, you can still use it and provide a refresher course, which could be 4 hours before the school year, like in the first week of August. Every teacher should be expected to set their own individual goals. What do I want to do? What would I like to focus on this year? Then they should meet with you and you can tell them how you will support them. You know what I did after COVID? I realized everyone is very flexible now with Google. I started having the post conferences and all of these end of year conference. I would do it through a Google form. Like I would meet with them. I would say, okay, what do you think was your greatest strength this year? What do you think is your area of growth? How do you think I can support you in your growth? What can I do for you? Right? And then I would say, 4th question, do you have any advice for me? How, if I need to change, if I need to do something different? And when there were answers were given, I have never met with a teacher without the presence of another admin, or for these meetings, I would have HR, but for other meetings, I always have an admin sitting in the room with me. They would take notes, but it's also somebody else who's sitting there with me. It's very important to know as we grow into our careers, because we are the HR kind of, we are wearing so many different hats. So after my end of year conference, these 4 questions, whatever they give the answers, the HR would email them the Google form. Every teacher had one Google form. She would email them the Google form and they would write their name. If they didn't agree with what she had recapped, they can put a comment on it and they would send it back. Now I have the Google form, I have the Excel sheet, beginning of the year, all I need to do is pull it up. Before I had to open the forms, the files, but now I can easily see what was the area of growth of this particular teacher before the year begins, right? Because we already discussed it at the end of the year. Now I pull it up at the beginning of the year and I know what should be her goal. So that would help in her initial goal setting. Then the way the T-test process works for me, and I think no matter what we call it, where we are, I think it's pretty much the same. You have those random walkthroughs that you go into the classroom. You stand outside the classroom, you hear the teachers. Those are also part of the data, right? You collect that data. But that is catching sometimes the teachers off guard. You want to give the teacher an opportunity to show you their best self, right? If I plan, if I'm ready, this is how great a teacher I can be. So that's where the announced observation comes in. So when I would meet with the teachers in the pre-conference, they would bring their lesson plan. Sister Uzma, next week when you come in, I'll be teaching this lesson and this is how I plan to teach them. And these are the things, and we'll go into it in the next slide, that I will be working with the students. So that's my pre-conference. Then I would go in for observation and I would have the lesson plan and I would be basically documenting what I see. And I can see that, oh yeah, she really did a great job. You know what she was saying, I would write it down. And then in the post-conference, which I tried to do within a week, I would tell her what I felt, how I felt she did a great job, if there was an area of growth, which T-tests, if you are doing a particular program, it is mandatory that you have to find one area of strength and one area of growth for the teacher. So you find those for the teacher and you give it to them. Another thing that really worked for me was when I started appraisal, I would do it by subject. So let's say I started appraisal for English. I would go to the department head first, because if she's the department head, because I've seen her great job over the years, I would like to see how a great teacher teaches. Then I would observe all the English teachers the same week, and I have a very clear data that where the team is. So a key thing for these appraisal meetings is a neutral space. Don't have these meetings in your office. I never have these meetings in my office, because no matter what we say, the unspoken, the elephant in the room is that we are the leaders, right? We are the appraisers. We are there to appraise them. So they feel, they can feel overwhelmed. They can feel stressed. So the key is I would always meet them in the library or in the volunteer room, so they can see that, okay, it's a neutral environment. They are not in the principal's office. We are just discussing how they're going to be teaching and how I can help them improve if there is improvement needed. And if there is not, how I can use their strength and they can help other teachers, because we did a lot of peer coaching. So by doing this, we felt you build teacher capacity by observations and feedback cycles. Again, I cannot stress on it enough. Train first. You have to train them first. Hey, this is the expectation. Give them clear guidelines, written guidelines, verbal guidelines, that when you come in, you are expected to have 2 professional developments throughout the year, in addition to the ones that we have already on calendar. You are expected to, you will be appraised. You will be appraised, announced and unannounced. But appraisal is not a mean to judge you or to threaten your contract. It is just a mean to support you, to build your capacity, to help you do a better job, even better job. So when you send that message across, if you are successful, I had some teachers who would be like, Sister Uzma, when are you coming? When are you coming, Sister Uzma? I want you to come and see if I'm, what I'm doing is right. I've started something new. And there are certain teachers who will, no matter what you do, it's a dog and pony show when you go. So you have those as well. But you use growth, and you know that not everyone can meet your expectations. Not everyone will be meeting those expectations, but that's where this process comes in. You set those goals. This is the area of growth, and this is what we will be working during the summer. This is what you should be looking for in professional development. And then you will start the process again at the next year. So it is a cycle. Unless you have a really horrible teacher, you make sure you let go of that teacher the first year. So if you feel that that is the case. Public schools are very focused on this, that if they see the teacher is not doing good, it's very important for them that first year is when you let them go. Otherwise, it becomes difficult for them. So the first area of appraisal is planning. Does a teacher know how to plan? Just like us as leaders, we plan the calendar, we plan professional development, we plan all of those things from the very beginning. So teachers are also supposed to plan, right? So you have those pre-conferences in which you see how the teacher has planned. Is her lesson aligned with the standards? Has she integrated some Islamic values into the lesson? When she is teaching the lesson, does she have a plan on how she's going to assess if her students are mastering it, right? And does she know her students? And knowledge of students is very important. If you have mostly boys, right? You know what most of those boys are into. then when you are planning those activities, you can throw that in there. I had a teacher, activities is important. That's why I've written it in bold, because you don't want the teacher to be constantly just teaching, standing in front of the board. You do not, I would always encourage teachers not to teach for more than 20 minutes. 20 is the max. After 20 minutes, you do small groups. Let the students work in groups, and then you bring them back together, and then you can see if everyone has mastered something. So planning activities, and one of the things that my teachers, some of my teachers had a hard time was, they say, we don't have time. Public schools do activities because they have those resources. So I went to the board, and alhamdulillah, they agreed. We got a floater assistant. One assistant, because we didn't have multiple sections, who would work from 1st to 5th grade and would help the teachers throughout the week. And if whatever they needed that assistant to do, she would help them prepare. So planning is the key, but planning is not the sole key. I had a teacher who was excellent in lesson planning. I looked at her lesson plan and I thought, wow, I wish I had done that when I was teaching. I walk into her classroom, she's reading off the slide, she's not doing anything, students are bored. And I'm like, oh my God. I had another teacher, I sat down for lesson planning and I thought so many things were missing. I said, how are you going to do that, Sister Neelam? She said, Sister Uzma, trust me. I know what I'm doing. Give me a chance. I walk into her classroom and the class was engaged. She was doing an excellent job. She had the students literally, they were walking around, but they were all working. It was the best class I had seen. So sometimes you will have those variations as well. And it will tell you your teacher's strength in the process, right? That, okay, my teacher, she doesn't plan that well, but she really knows what she's talking about. Then I would send other teachers to her classroom too, so they can do peer mentoring to see how she was running her class, so that the teachers, others can learn too. The second step is instruction, and that is where the observation comes in. When we walk into those classrooms as team leads or principals or appraisers, we want to see instruction in action, right? We want to see the content knowledge that the teacher has. You can plan, but if you don't have the knowledge, you won't be able to deliver it. Then that also shows the teacher's experience. Communication, is she a clear communicator? Because some teachers are excellent and some teachers are great planners, they have content knowledge, but they cannot communicate well. So if their instructions are not clear, students are looking like that, students are raising their hands, and you can see that because you are doing nothing else than observing and taking notes. You realize, is the teacher able to do differentiation? It's very important. And you can see that you can find, I once saw a student with her head down throughout the period, head down on the desk, and the teacher didn't say anything. And to me, it's like, oh my God, that she just totally missed that student. It's as if the student was not even in the classroom. So those are the things you can see. Maybe if she had known her students better, she would have known how that student learned. And then, is she able to monitor? Because when you're teaching and you see, even us as leaders, when I would be sitting reading the employee handbook at the beginning of the year, I could sense that some teachers were confused with some of the terminology in the employee handbook. So right away, I would try to break it down, give a story, and then I could see the light bulb come on. And I would see that, okay, they understand. Because I would have my HR read the employee handbook, and my HR was just very straight to the point. It's typical HR. Never broke down anything. She was just reading. And the teachers came to me, we really sometimes don't understand, because some of the Arabic or Quran teachers or some assistants, they felt that the language was very difficult. So the same applies to a teacher. We are like teachers, right? For our teachers. So our teachers, when they are working with their students, they can see on their faces if a student is lost or confused. Can they monitor? Can they adjust their lesson at that time and give them more detailed information? So this is where the instruction comes in. And then, of course, the learning environment. learning environment, and we've all been teachers. We know it's very important, right? What is the classroom culture? Is everyone allowed to just walk around, do whatever they want? Or do they need a hall pass? Or do they raise their hands to talk? Do they wait for their turn? What are they, what is the procedure in the classroom? Is there any routine? One thing that I had done over the years was elementary should have one particular routine, so that no matter which teacher walks into the classroom, the students are not confused. Teacher A allows me to go and move my chair to my friend's chair and I can work in that group. But teacher B says I have to sit in my spot. That becomes confusing, and that usually always happens between the Quran teachers and the core subjects. So that is very important, to develop a routine, a procedure that is across board. And then there could be small variations, but across board, there should be some things that should be just the same. You walk into every classroom and you find the same thing. There is a procedure you can feel happy about. Then managing student behavior. How is the teacher? Because see, the teacher, these students are spending 8 hours with this teacher. She knows them better than anyone. Sometimes they will act out, but usually when the principal or appraiser is there, majority of the students are well behaved that day. Even if they act out normally, they are well behaved that day. So this is also, you assess a teacher, like when you are going back and having that post conference, you can say, your lesson was excellent, your delivery was excellent, but I just felt that there was one student who was really not interested and she raised her hand, but maybe you missed it. So how can you adjust your lesson to reach out to all the students? Or you can say, hey, I felt that the students were listening, but they were not really engaged. So how do you plan on making sure that going forward your lessons are more engaging for all students? So asking those questions, there is a set of questions that is available also on certain websites that you can print out. So you ask those key questions. Teachers don't feel as if you are putting them down, but they feel that, oh yeah, I can ask that question. I can do that next time. And the last, yes.
Sorry, Sister Uzma, what advice would you have for me? I have a teacher who really struggles working with kids who are below expectations. And yet, in her mind, and yet when we do the measurement of academic progress, the scores are very different, right? The scores show that the children know far more than they're able to articulate or to show in the classroom. And I think a lot of it too has to do with the environment, because this teacher is just very organized. Like her classroom management is, is like, it's a very organized, quiet class. But my struggle, and quite honestly, it's become my frustration now, because I feel that year after year, she starts the school year by identifying students who are, who are not up to expectation. And then in her mind, and then she starts the conversation with me. I've just been in this role 2 years. So she starts the conversation, like almost in September. And then, with the parents. And no matter how I advise her or coach her, it's not getting through. I hear excuse after excuse, and I'm getting to the point where I feel like I just have to be very firm and blunt. But on the other hand, I work with other teachers. When I ask them, do you, do you need support? How is this student doing? They never give up. They'll say, I'll come back to you. I'm trying this strategy and this strategy. What advice would you have for me so I don't get frustrated? But I really don't want to lose this teacher. But on the other hand, if this continues, I know it's going to be a problem next year when it comes to the renewal of contracts.
You are very right. And I feel you. May Allah help you, because been there, seen that, gone through that. Yes. Is she a veteran teacher?
Yes, very much so.
So it's like the fixed mindset that we were talking about at the beginning. They think they know it. They don't want to change. And I don't know how she teaches, because if the MAP scores are showing otherwise, that means those students are really bright students and they are just bored in her classroom. They could do even better because maybe she is not challenging enough. So they are not engaged, and she labels them as not up to the par, and she is not focused on them. But I feel that those students are really missing an opportunity, because if the MAP scores were showing similar to what she's saying, then it would be a different thing. Like we had, especially the last 2 years, we felt that there were certain students in every classroom who needed that extra support. I got together with a few teachers, went to the Quran team and say, hey, we really need that extra time. It was very difficult because, if you have passionate teachers, and my Quran and Arabic team is amazing, they fight over every minute. So we requested them, and we came to a agreement that the first semester it will be a Quran period. Second semester starting January, it will be a core subject period. And that we called Power Hour. So in that Power Hour, we would pull out, and there were 2-3 teachers who volunteered. In the Power Hour, we would pull out these students who needed that additional support, and the teachers would work with them in small groups. And that really, brought the scores up and boost the student confidence. So regarding this teacher, I feel that those students, if they are doing good, it means they are not challenged. So you should, if you are having the appraisal meetings with her, look at her lesson plan. What are the activities that she is? Because see, the appraisal that I would do focuses on 3 things a teacher should be doing. I do, we do, you do. So I do is when I'm teaching you the lesson, 10, 15, max 20 minutes. You do, we get into small groups, and then we work on small assignments, right? So to show mastery of knowledge. Once we have done that, then comes you do. Then you do it individually. So these elements are very important. When it's we do, what is she doing for we do? Is she giving them another paper? How is she engaging the students? Because when you are engaging the students and you have the, you will bring out these students. You can put them in a group with weaker students, and you will see them shine. But it's very important to make sure that even in these we do groups, everyone has a role. So if there are 4 students, one is taking down notes, one is going to present it to the classroom, one is going to, they will take turns like that. So everyone has a role. That means in that small group, every student has that limited time to at least shine. Maybe they are shy to speak in front of the whole class, but they are comfortable speaking in that small group. So that is really important. And if even that does not work, in her case, I feel open, clear communication is very important. Believe me, I have tried to be diplomatically. One thing that I had the hardest time during my master's was learning how to rephrase. We say from the Pathan background, you have that natural capacity to lose patience very quickly. And I remember when my professor would put me in a role play setting in which he would say, okay, this is a teacher who's resisting. Uzma, how are you going to address it? And the teacher would be, role play. Some people are really great at it. I'm not that great at it. So she would say things that made my face flush. And my professor would call out, she said, Uzma, you need to relax. learn to rephrase, learn to rephrase. So I learned it to a certain extent that sometimes I thought I was too polite. Then over years, I learned, no, I have to be straightforward. So be straightforward with that teacher. Yes, Sister Farah.
Assalamualaikum. Sorry, my phone is busy. I just wanted to, first of all, I hear the Sister Aisha's struggles and wanted to, number one, reiterate what Sister Uzma is saying. Those are great pointers, and definitely Sister Aisha should try that. For me, what has helped me is documentation, especially when I'm meeting with that teacher and giving her feedback, and that teacher is, not being receptive to my feedback. I appreciate the concept of using our performance review meetings, not in a very structured setting where your chair is your power and you cannot have those one-on-one conversations. But when you're dealing with such difficult personalities, you need your chair's power. So have those meetings in your office, have a proper conference form pulled up and write down things, notate things, and then provide a copy to the teacher as well. And you have to be very clear in your feedback to that teacher saying, hey, these are the goals that I'm seeing. These are the test scores that I'm seeing. And I want to see every student, getting an improvement, inshallah, in your classroom, and let me know how I can support you. Maybe having an assistant teacher, like Sister, alhamdulillah, Uzma was saying, maybe have a floater going to a classroom a few times to help differentiate instruction or whatever. But it's important for you to maintain your documentation. So at the end of the year, you can easily pull out those conference forms and say, hey, we met about it a few times, we discussed this, and unfortunately there was no growth. So the board is not willing to renew your contract. So just a little tip that I've tried in the past and has worked with me.
That's a great point. And that's what I was coming to. These meetings are not just post-conference, because that you do once a year. And sometimes, remember, you can't, if you have 30, 40 teachers, you cannot observe 30, 40 teachers every year. So you will go in turns. But these meetings, like I said earlier, always have an HR or someone present in the meeting. The meeting is always documented, and clear documentation is your best friend. If you have clear documentation, because some teachers are, most people, when you let them go, they will say whatever, right? You cannot say anything in your capacity, but they can say whatever. But as long as you have clear documentation, the board is on your side, you feel, because see, as Muslims working in Islamic school, that element also comes in, right? You don't want to let go of someone for if you don't have a solid reason. So clear documentation and having someone present during those meetings, because over the years it has become he said, she said. So like I said earlier, I always had, when I had meetings like this, I would always have the HR, and if it is a department related, I would also have the dean present in those meetings. So there are other people also. We are giving them support, but we are also setting clear expectations. Yes, Sister Nagin.
I just had another suggestion to just add on to these excellent, all of this excellent advice. This has been about a year in the making. I've developed an RTI program at our school, response to intervention. And there's a ton of work on the front end, but what we've seen is that once we present the teachers, our teachers, with all of this information, so what we did was put together binders of test scores and focus skills. So skills that every student has that, maybe they're not on grade level. And those focus skills are should be worked on throughout the quarter, and with documentation regularly, have some evidence that you have the student has mastered the standard with 80% proficiency. I mean, it's all written out for them. So my point is, I think with some teachers, when they do come to maybe a student who is struggling, or a student who they have to have some sort of differentiation in the classroom, giving them the tools, giving them the resources, and leading them to the right place as far as where to get my, where do I go? What do I do from here? Has helped a whole lot. I mean, we put a lot on our teachers. I mean, I know I expect a lot, but doing some of the work on the front end and just kind of presenting them with this, hey, this is all organized for you. And I mean, there's no excuse for you to not have this now. I mean, it is right here. I'm presenting it to you. All you have to do is this. That I also suggest that as, you know, perhaps a route to take as well, to help with the teachers, you know, who don't know where to go.
That's excellent. That is excellent. And, you know, these things take, like you said, a lot of work at the back end to start off. Like we had worked on RTI, but sometimes the paperwork becomes the, you know, your Achilles heel. If you don't have a strong paperwork, then you cannot, especially as a smaller school, if you're a small school, you don't have the resources to follow up. My concern over the years has been to learn how to follow up the accountability part. Starting these initiatives is good, but you have to have a plan on how you will follow up on those. So if you can do that, that's excellent. So I hope, sister, you got some good suggestions dealing with this teacher. May Allah bless you. These are the challenges that come with this role, right? And this is as the last slide. No, we have to go back. Okay. So this part, professional practices and behavior, is something that is not, you do not assess that, you do not see that inside the classroom. You do see a little bit, but this is something, a part of appraisal that is outside the classroom, in the school, on the daily. What is the teacher's demeanor? How does the teacher interact with her or his peers? How is she in goal setting? Does she have a growth mindset? Does she participate in professional development opportunities? Does she react nicely or effectively to constructive feedback? You know, all of these things you see. And for years, I would say it's difficult because you have these 10 things like a, you know, science fair lead, junior honor society lead, and scripts spelling bee lead. So you have a few teachers who are participating in these. What about the rest? If I have nothing for them, how can I judge them? How can I give them you know, proficient or non-proficient? So sometimes I would say, unless I see otherwise, everyone is proficient, right? But then one of my teachers, she left and she went to a public school, ISD, and 3 years there, she came back and she said, Sister Uzma, you know what they do? They make it mandatory, because when I would assign someone to be the lead for scripts spelling bee or national GOB, we would give them a stipend if they wanted to be a part of it. So they would get some compensation for it. And she said, Sister Uzma, but that's not in public schools. You have to be, it's in the contract that you have to sign up for one of these. It can be anything. It can be a dismissal. You know, every teacher does the dismissal duty. They take turns, but that really helps because now I can easily put it, this expectation from everyone, and I can see that. We use teachers when it was, let's say, fundraising. Hey, who can help sell the tickets? So the teachers who will motivate, there will be some teachers who are always, they're raising hands and they are doing an excellent job. So this is the last part where the rest of the evaluation comes in. If you are a great teacher, but you are not a team player, but if you are not, you know, you are not willing for professional development, or you don't have goals, you think you know it all, do I want you on my team? So this depends on how you will, what is the need of your particular campus and how you want these teachers to be. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for attending today and for your time. Sister Uzma, you've covered so much material, and I'm reliving all of this all over again. It's a big role that a school leader has, and definitely always something to learn. People are so dynamic. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. Please make sure that you mark your calendars, because next month on December 18th, we are going to have professional Sister Majda, also with a board member from another school, talking about strategic planning and budget protocols. I know I wasn't very comfortable or even allowed to work with my budget at my school, and increasingly principals do need to have that capacity. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again, everyone. Inshallah, you found it worth your while, and please make sure that you join us again in about a month. Take care. Assalamu
Thank you so
alaikum.
much, everyone. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. I hope. Thank you.
Assalamu
Thank
alaikum.
you so
Assalamu
much.
alaikum.
Thank you, Sister Osma, for everything.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Bye.